Hi, this is Jason Mose with InRoads Credit Union, and tonight I'm proud to present our next in the series of DIY with InRoads. DIY with InRoads is a live 1-hour segment here on Facebook Live, Wednesday nights from 6 to 7, where we mix money-minded insights with hands-on fun. So tonight, we have a really special guest. It's an employee of InRoads Credit Union, Hannah Baldwin, and she's going to be sharing with us some of her tricks and trades of upcycling clothing. So it's a pretty cool segment. I want to thank you for joining us. Make sure you share and like, ask questions, make comments. We'll be answering questions throughout the segment tonight, so feel free to drop them down there in the comment section. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce Hannah Baldwin. Take it away.
Thanks, Jason. Hi, everyone. I'm Hannah Baldwin, and I am with InRoads. I have been with InRoads for almost 3 years. Actually, Friday is my 3-year work anniversary. Yay, 3 years. I started off in the commercial department, and at the beginning of 2020 transitioned over into marketing, and I'm super excited. That's what my degree is in, so I am very excited to be over there with my little marketing family now and getting to do fun design and creative things every day. In addition to working for InRoads, I actually run a small crafting business called Hannah Maids. You can find me on Facebook and all that kind of stuff. I have stuff for sale at a few different shops around town, and I kind of call myself a Jill of all trades. I do lots of different types of crafting, whether it's sewing, vinyl work, cross stitching, doing small alterations for clothes, or one of my favorites, which is upcycling. And I love to upcycle because it's a way to either use stuff that you can thrift or already have in your home and make new things out of it and save money in the process. So if you guys are ready, I think we're gonna jump right into our first project. What we're gonna do is actually take an old sweater and turn it into a cozy fall and winter hat. So this is a sweater that I thrifted. I think it's pretty fun. I really like the colors. And it does have a little bit of damage on it, so that's why I want to turn it into a hat and give it a new life. So the first thing you're going to want to do is, gather your materials. So you're going to need some kind of a knit fabric. It could be an open sweater. It could be like this one where it's a regular crew neck style sweater. Really anything that's this knitted fabric. You're also going to want to have some kind of ruler to cut against, a cutting instrument, and then you'll be needing to measure, and then also using some kind of a pattern. So up on our website at inroadscu.org/DIY, there's going to be PDF instructions for how to do my 2 different projects. And one of those things on the PDF you'll see is that there is a pattern that you can use to create the shape that you're going to need for the hat. So what I've done is created it out of a paper bag, another way that you can find stuff in your home to upcycle. So from the tip to the bottom is, let's see, how big did I make it? It is 13 inches. So I know that I need to measure from the bottom of the sweater up 13 inches. I'm gonna go ahead and get my measuring, put it down here.
So Hannah, where do you do your thrifting?
I like to do it locally. I want to support as many local businesses as I can. So I really like going to our local senior center thrift stores, as well as, of course, going to Goodwill is always nice and easy. There's a few other shops in Portland. Obviously right now with COVID, it's kind of hard. Not all places are open, but you can really thrift anywhere, even like garage sales or just your own closet.
Or families' closets, right? Like,
that's right. I've done a cool project in the past where my sister gave me some of her old clothes that she wasn't using anymore and actually turned them into dresses for her daughter. So a cool way to, you know, keep clothes that are still in really good condition but just not being used and turn them into something new. So we've gone ahead and cut the bottom of this sweater off. You can actually save this for later. You can make a couple more things with it if you want to. You can use the arms and make fingerless gloves or mittens. You can use the rest of the body to make an ear warmer, something like that, you know, not let anything go to waste. So now that we have the bottom cut off, we're gonna go ahead and grab our scissors and actually cut it open. Does anybody have any questions so far?
yeah, if anyone has any questions or comments along the way, just put it down there in the comments section. We'll get to each and every one of them tonight. So where do you purchase supplies like this that you're using, Hannah?
I love to go to Joann's. I know that there's not really one here locally, but if you just go up over the hill, I like to go there because you can normally find a lot of coupons, which is always good. We love to save money. And you can also find things at Michael's. We do have a local fabric store as well that's in St. Helens. Walmart has good supplies. You can even find good craft supplies at Dollar Tree too. What I'm going to do next is take my pattern that I drafted, line it up along the bottom, and then we're going to cut the little crown pattern that we have right here. It doesn't have to be exact, and the great thing about a project like this is you can really customize it to whoever you're making the hat for. So if you have someone with a larger head or a smaller head or even a kid, you can totally adjust your pattern to fit them. This is also a really fun project to do with your kids or your nieces and nephews. My kids love to come into my office and craft with me. Cutting out these little spots, and then we'll get to the sewing. There we go, just as simple as that. All done with your pattern. Set that aside. So all fabric has a right side and a wrong side. This is the wrong side. This is the right side with the pattern. You're going to want to put the right sides together, and then you're going to want to pin it in place. You can either use regular pins, or I really like these little quilting clips. Makes it really nice and easy when you have thick fabric. So you just use these little clips, clip it together. So it's just to hold it in place while you're sewing so it doesn't move around on you. You're gonna want to do it up this edge here and then to the top of this point. And if you're following the instructions, when you look at it, this is the red area, and then you're going to want to open it up, and you're going to so here's the red area right here, and then right here is the blue area, and you're going to want to sew that part second. And
so for those that are just joining us, if you go to inroadscu.org/DIY, the instructions are loaded up there. So you can actually follow along, or you can just sit and watch for now and then go back later. This video will be uploaded to that landing page. It'll still be here on Facebook, so you'll be able to reference this at a later time.
All right, so if you guys are ready, we're gonna go ahead and do our first sewing edge. Just get that in there. I just do a normal straight stitch, very simple and easy. The fabric will be a little bit thick, but that's okay. And go straight through.
So if you don't have a sewing machine, can you just do this by hand?
Totally can do it by hand. All you need to do is basically the same steps, but instead of a sewing machine, you're going to do it by hand. Very easy to do.
When did you start sewing, Hannah?
I started sewing back in 2012. I was pregnant with my son and wanted to make some, special kind of keepsakes that he could have with him, baby keepsakes and whatnot. And I'm really fortunate that my mother-in-law is an amazing seamstress, and so she's helped me with a lot of questions that I've had, along the way, and watching a lot of YouTube tutorials really helps too.
Cool.
Okay, the next step, now that we have the blue section and the red section sewed, is you're going to open it up. You're going to take these two seams and match them up, and then you'll see that you have kind of what is looking like a hat shape. And these are what are the green sections. And you're now going to clip the green sections together.
So now you're just sewing that section that you clipped, right?
Mm-hmm. Just sewing the green section. And this will be the final spot on the top of the hat that you have to sew. One other thing that I really like about this pattern is you can really make the beanie as slouchy or not slouchy to whatever your preference is. I like a little bit slouchier because if I have my hair up in a bun and want to put a hat on, it has room for my hair. Okay, so there we go. We've got the top of the hat sewed. What you're going to want to do now is flip it right side out. So there it is, just like that. Pretty simple and easy. Like I said, you can totally, however big or small of a head that you need to make it for, you can do it. You can also flip this edge up to give it a little bit of a brim, just like that. You can also take some type of a hat topper, whether you want to make one out of your extra fabric or maybe make one out of yarn by making a ball. Or you can purchase these faux fur balls and you would just hand stitch this to the top. You have a little topper. And you can even do it if you don't like hats that have a lot of color on them because you want them to be go with more outfits. You can use a more neutral colored sweater. So that's what this one is here.
Very cool. Now you're ready to hit the slopes.
I'm all ready for fall. All the hats and sweaters. Did anybody have any questions on how to do it?
Yeah, again, guys, if you have any questions or comments or words of encouragement, make sure that you put them down there in the comment section and we will answer each and every one of them. Or at least recognize you.
Do you think we're ready to move to the next one, or?
Yeah, if there's no questions, I think that we can go on to the next project, Hannah.
Okay, great. So our next one, we're going to kind of take it up a notch. I wanted to give you guys a slightly more difficult sewing that has a little bit more finesse to it. So what we're going to be doing is taking embroidered fabric and adding that to another piece of clothing to make your own patches. And you can find embroidered fabric on all sorts of other clothing, or just fabric in general, if it was like on a bag or something. And you can then take that and put it onto other things. So if you want to embroider a pair of jeans or a backpack or something like that, you can make the fun patches. I went out thrifting and found this really pretty shirt. It's a really pretty kind of mauvey purple color, and decided that I wanted to, because it's not my size, use the embroidery because it's really beautiful. So what I'm going to do is chop off the sleeve and turn that into the patches. What I'm going to do with the rest of the shirt is, since it's in really good condition and it already has the stretchy elastic on it, I'm going to just cut off the sleeve parts and sew that up and turn it into a skirt for my daughter, because I don't want to be wasteful, and I know that she'll love this color, and it's super, super soft.
Cool. Chelsea did say that she loves the hats, so
Oh, good.
Good job, Hannah. And I think you color coordinated everything tonight, right?
I did. I mean, we've got our purple shirts match the hat, so it works. So all you need to do is cut off your embroidery. I'm just going to open up the shirt sleeve so I can more easily cut the embroidery out. There we go, just like that. So now what you're going to want to do is, kind of look at the embroidery that you have, because obviously everybody's is going to be different, and decide what parts you're going to want to put on your new top. When you decide which parts you're going to use, you're going to cut close to the embroidery, but not cut into the embroidery, because we don't want it to unravel. So I'm just going to use my rotary blade and cut close in, being careful not to cut into the embroidery.
Elena says, looks like I need to get a fancy tool like the one you use to cut the sleeves off. What is that fancy tool?
To cut the sleeves. I have a rotary blade and scissors. Either one would totally work. You don't need, that's the good thing about crafting, is you don't need fancy tools. So there we go. Just cut out the first piece. I'll go ahead and cut out a couple more just so we have a variety.
She says, okay, rotary blade it is. I need one of those too.
They are very sharp, so be careful. Okay, there we go. Gotten our pieces cut out, so we can set this other section aside. The next thing that we're going to do is we're actually going to stabilize the embroidery. I'm going to bring my, can you see that okay, Jason? Okay. Got my iron here, just going to get that heated up real quick. What I like to stabilize with is a nice thin stabilizer. It is an iron-on kind, so when we apply a little bit of heat to it, it's actually going to stick to the embroidery. You can tell that there's two different sides. There's like a bumpy side, that's the adhesive, and then this side is smooth. So you're gonna put the bumpy side on the bottom of what you want it to stick to. Once this is heated up,
So apparently, Elena's going to get one of those rotary tools for her Christmas wrapping paper.
Oh, that'll be interesting. I would worry about it dulling quickly on paper.
On paper?
Yeah. But I have seen some really cool gadgets out there that are for Christmas wrapping paper.
She's going to buy them all.
Yeah, she is.
And share with us.
As long as she wraps all my gifts for me. So just going to apply some heat and get this embroidery stuck down. Didn't want to turn it up too high, so I might need to turn it up a little bit more. Give it another second to warm up.
So you're just adhering a back to it to...
Yep, just adhering a little bit of a stabilizer so that way when you're going to actually pin it and sew it to your shirt, it will just be like more stiff and stabilized on it. Got it pretty good stuck down there. So now I'm going to just cut off the excess of the stabilizer.
That beautiful rotary blade.
Can also use scissors. Now that I have the excess cut off, I'm going to just give it another good press because you don't want to put too much of the iron on the stabilizer because then it'll end up melting to your iron. Yes, I've made that mistake. There we go. So now that those are together, you're going to want to grab your top. I just grabbed this nice little chambray top. Doesn't have any decoration or anything on it. Just going to figure out, where I want to put these pretty roses. You can do them to the pockets. If you want to still be able to use your pocket, you'll need to hand stitch it on, going, through the pocket and not all the way through the shirt. You of course can sew it straight on top of it if you don't plan on using your front shirt pockets. That would be easy too. Just gonna put that one right there, I think. And I know we're still good on time, so I'm just gonna go ahead and keep going.
And again, if you guys have any questions, make sure you put them down there in the comments. All the instructions are loaded up on our landing page at inroadscu.org/DIY.
Have you been practicing your ukulele, Jason?
I have been. I know a whole 3 chords, which
Very
I'm
good.
halfway to a song.
I don't have a ukulele, but I have purchased all of the ingredients to make Brittany's pretzels.
Oh.
I'm very excited to try that out. I think that'll be on our list this weekend to do.
It's definitely some instant gratification once you make the pretzels. Learning the ukulele is a little more involved.
Yes, for sure.
So you're just using this stabilizer there on the other rows that you cut out?
Mm-hmm. Just making another one of the patches. Just cutting off the excess.
And you're cutting off the excess, and then you're gonna reheat it with the iron?
Mm-hmm. Just to make sure that it got nice and stuck down. And if it doesn't stick down all the way, that's totally okay, because you are going to be sewing on top of it, and it's gonna all stick it down, but it'll still have that stability behind it.
So Hannah, obviously you got the shirt from a thrift store, right, that you cut to make these patches. The stabilizer, are you able to get that just about anywhere? Can you?
Oh yeah, it's a really inexpensive product. You can find it at any craft store, Walmart, even online too. If you don't feel, right now a lot of us don't like to leave our house very much. Totally okay. You can definitely order it online too. There's lots of different weights to it. You can find there's featherweight, heavyweight, and the difference of those is obviously the featherweight is nice and flexible. The heavyweight is going to be much more stiff. And there's lots of other types where you can have it be where it's iron-on, or just one that it's a backing and you just sew it on. So lots of different ones. You can, pick out a couple and decide which one is your favorite to work with.
So what are you using tonight? Is that a featherweight?
Yeah, this one's really nice and thin. You can almost see through it. And it's the what's called fusible kind that adheres with the heat. Just cutting out my last little rosette. Like that. Give another good press. I think I might make hats for all of my family Christmas presents this year.
Spoiler alert.
They always know they're getting something handmade when it comes from me. There we go. I'm just gonna put them in kind of a, you guys probably can't see it from here, but I'll hold it up once I'm done. I basically have layered the roses kind of next to each other in kind of a stacked pattern. Once I get it pinned, I'll hold it up and show you. Careful when you're pinning, you don't want to stab yourself. Just put a couple of pins into each rose to hold them in place.
Amber says, or for your nice coworker.
Amber, need a hat?
I think Amber's a hat girl. Feel like you're a hat person or you're not. I think Amber's a hat person.
Yeah, I think she'd be a good hat person.
So you're just pinning it there so you can then stitch it onto the shirt?
Mm-hmm. If you were only doing one piece, you might be able to get away with not pinning it, but definitely if you have multiple, pinning it on will help. Oh, just like that. I just lost one. That's okay.
Amber says, I'll take anything Hannah makes, and I do love a good hat. So
Amber's so sweet. A couple of things at home that I've been upcycling over the last weekend is I got a couple of old vintage windows, and I'm cleaning those up, and I'm going to be painting the glass with chalkboard paint and turning them into chalkboards. It's another fun DIY upcycle.
for all those kids schooling from home right now.
Exactly. We need all the organization and chalkboards we can find right now. Okay, so there it is all pinned together. You can see that I did a little cluster of the flowers together. And the next stage that you're gonna do is just stitch really close with just a straight stitch along the edges to hold it into place. I'll show you how to do that.
So Hannah, you said earlier that you started sewing back when you were pregnant with your first child.
Mm-hmm.
Who inspired you to start sewing?
Well, my mom sewed. She would make us lots of clothes, Halloween costumes. My favorite that she ever made, I was a ballerina, and so were my two sisters. So we had a little flock of ballerinas. But I think for me, it was just kind of a natural progression of, I've always kind of been crafty, and it was just one of those things that I decided to start doing. I bought my first sewing machine off of, local buy-sell trade, and looked online for a manual and figured out how to get the bobbin threaded and how to thread the thread through and how all the different buttons worked. It was a really basic machine. I've upgraded twice since then.
So that's something that we've talked about during all of these DIY segments, are sort of these tools that we use and how you can actually get a lot of these things fairly inexpensive on, Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist or, secondhand stores. You don't always have to have a brand new tool to get the job done.
Definitely not. Like I said, my very first one was through a Facebook buy-sell trade group. My second one I got on sale at Costco. And then this one I actually ordered on a good sale on Amazon. So
yeah, and if anybody watching right now has other suggestions on where to get, secondhand or gently used items, fairly reasonable, just throw those ideas or suggestions down in the comments.
Another one of my favorite places to go for either furniture to upcycle or other like building style materials is the Restore from Habitat for Humanity. They have always really great stuff there. Just going around each of the flowers, just barely hitting the edge to hold the fabric down of the patch. And you can go slow, you don't have to be in a big rush. Most of the time when I'm crafting at home, I have, a big glass of wine and friends playing in the background.
So Hannah, something I think that's cool about your story is that you weren't born a seamstress, something that you may have seen your mom do or family members, but you were an adult basically when you picked this up and started doing it.
Yeah, it's only been about, I think 8 years now that I've been sewing, and I learn something new every project that I have to do. Whether it's a project that's completely from scratch or if it's, something that I've done a couple of times, it's always, always a new challenge, and you're always learning something new for sure. Whether it be a different kind of stitch or a new type of fabric that you've never worked with, because no fabrics are the same. You know, working with silk is way different than working with something that's big and fluffy versus working with like jean material. It's all different and requires, you know, may require a different needle or a different machine or.
Well, I think what's cool about this project that you're showing us right now is that, yeah, you're using a machine, but it could very easily be done by hand.
Oh yes.
When I was in the Air Force, I didn't have a sewing machine, and I had to sew on every single patch on every single uniform.
Oh gosh.
So, you know, just doing something like this that's cool and decorative, you can totally do by hand.
Yes, for sure. I'm almost done. I think I've got all the little edges. That's my favorite feature of this new machine, is it has a thread cutter on it. So I don't even have to pull it out and use my scissors. It just goes clip and does it for me. Take out that last pin. I'm going to trim a couple of little threads right there. A couple little bit extra of the fabric right there that I'm just going to trim off. And there you go. There it is. It's all right there. And what's cool is like you could do an entire design like on the back if you wanted to. You could do something on the sleeve. It's really to whatever your preference is. And what's fun is that the embroidery could be anything. It doesn't have to be floral. It could be, a geometric pattern. It really could be anything, or for any holiday too. This is the embroidery that I did on one earlier with the other sleeve. Just did a little bit on the collar and another little cluster of those. Just gives it a little something extra.
Elena says, nice, I love that.
It's nice and easy. And I'm going to show you guys too, because I think we have extra time, also how I'm actually going to do this one as well. So this is the shirt that had the embroidery on it, and it's really going to be so simple to turn this into a skirt. Just going to lay it out, and you'll see where the arm is, and I'm just going to zip through it and cut the rest of the arm off through the elastic on both sides.
Courtney Hill says, cute.
Hi, Courtney. And then I'm going to turn it inside out. This also gives me a chance to cut off a couple of other things, like these annoying clear hanger things that never work. Cut those off. And also, because no kid likes tags, it'll give me a chance to cut the tag off too. Doesn't matter how soft they make them, they still ask me to cut them out. And then I'm just going to find the edges of the elastic and then pin this too. Obviously, this isn't going to be in your DIY instructions because, not all of your embroidered pieces are going to have this, but this is just another way to show you how you can take leftover fabric from projects that you've made and, turn it into something new.
So for those that are just tuning in, Hannah took, you want to explain what it is that you have there?
Yeah, so this was the body of the shirt that had the embroidery. We've already used the sleeves to do the embroidery, and now what I'm doing is just sewing up where the armhole was to turn the rest of the top into a skirt.
And don't worry if you're just tuning in, this video and the instructions will be available. The instructions are actually already up on the landing page at inroadscu.org/DIY. This Facebook Live video will be saved to Facebook, and we'll also have the video loaded to the landing page in YouTube for you guys to watch later.
I get to do that tomorrow. There you go. So just as simple as that. Closed up that armhole, you can trim off some of this excess, and then it's going to be a skirt. Super simple and easy. Jason, besides your patches, have you ever done any sewing?
No, I mean, I've sewn patches on hats, which is sometimes difficult to do.
Yeah, for sure.
I did that by hand, but no, I've never used the sewing machine.
No?
No.
I've even had the pleasure of doing several alterations of clothes for my coworkers too. Lots of different pant hemmings.
Yeah.
A couple of hemming of like dresses and tops. I even turned a skirt into a pair of pants once.
Wow. I've done a lot of buttons. I've done a lot of buttons.
That's one thing that I have not dabbled into yet with my machine, is that there's an actual like buttonhole maker, and I've never tried it yet. So that's another one of those things that, you know, when I come across a project that has it, I'll have to learn how to do it.
We have Angie in the house.
Angie!
Lena says, hi, Angie.
All right, so the sides are sewn up. I'm just gonna cut off this little bit of excess bulk that's right there. The nice thing about this type of fabric is it's not going to fray because it's very stretchy type of material, so you don't have to finish the edges. Ways you can finish the edges if you have that kind of fabric is either with a serger, or you can use pinking shears, or do a zigzag stitch on your machine. Lots of different ways. You don't have to have a fancy machine to do it. There we go. So boom, made skirt.
It's cute.
I did also bring along some other DIY projects that I've made in the past. Do you want me to show those, Jason?
Yeah, if you have some other cool upcycled ideas for people.
Yeah, I do. So here is some earrings that I did. These are all made out of upcycled, some is faux leather and some is real leather, so depending upon your preference. Let me get a little closer so you can see them. These were made out of some leather and faux leather samples that I had, so it was just a simple piece, and I did the cutting just with my blade, and then folded them up and made it into earrings. You can do lots of different things. You could make necklaces with it. You can make bracelets with it. A lot of really simple, easy things. Put this one over. This one's just a simple straight bar style earring. They're nice and light and very easy to make. Some other things that I've done is what these, anybody know what these were before they were headbands? It's a guess out there to Facebook. Does anybody recognize it? It was leggings. So I had some old leggings that had holes in it, but I still really loved the fabric. And so I basically cut the legs off, turned it into a tube, added a little twist, and turned it into a headband. I love these for, when I'm doing skincare in the morning and the evening, hold my hair back out of my face, or, working out in the garden. I make them in a variety of sizes. So my daughter wears them, I wear them. Some cute little mommy and me sets. This is a really fun one that I've done. This is a bell necklace, so you can hear the little tink. The bell portion is actually made from a knife handle, from a silver antique knife handle. The little dinger on the inside is a fork tine, and you cut the bottom of the handle off and smooth it out and drill a hole, add your tine, and turn it into a necklace. So I like when I go to different vintage shops to look for the hollow handle knives and cut these and make them. Those ones are always fun because you never really find the same knife again, so they're all custom pieces. Here's another project that I did over the summer. I had some old placemats that wasn't really using anymore. My kids don't like placemats. They normally just end up on the floor before dinner. So use the placemats and some burlap ribbon, stitched that all together. I actually was able to do it on my sewing machine. This is a nice like heavy duty sewing machine. If you don't have a heavy duty one, you might want to do it by hand because you don't want to break your machine. But then the upcycled part is that the handles are actually a belt. I went to Goodwill and found this cool mustardy colored belt, cut it in half, punched some holes in the leather, and then stitched it on using some jute string. So that's another fun upcycled, you know, for nice spring and summer bag to go to the beach or the river with. Nice and easy. The last thing that I brought to show you guys is something that I made for my daughter. This was a dress that I made her, that I actually made out of a dress that used to be mine. It was just didn't fit anymore, so I loved the fabric so much that I wanted to recreate it for her. And basically, you know, all I did was I even used some existing elastic that was already in it, and just cut the pieces apart and, you know, cut it to fit her. Used the existing tie that it had to add the tie to the top, and she kind of picked where she wanted her pockets, and yeah, made a dress for her out of another dress. So instead of it going to a landfill and, you know, not getting used and loved, it's one of her favorite dresses to get out of her closet. She was very concerned when I was taking it with me today. She's going, "Where is it going? Why are you taking my stuff, Mom?" She's 5, so she asks me lots of questions like that.
Cool. Well, if any of our viewers have questions or comments for Hannah, I think that we're at that point in the segment that we'll answer those for you guys. So, Hannah, while we're waiting for any comments or questions, do you want to kind of talk about maybe some of your favorite YouTubers that, because I know that, you know, when I'm interested in learning something, I immediately go to YouTube, start looking up videos, and, you know, I immediately find like the ones that are my faves. And I go back, you know, I subscribe to their channel, and then I end up watching them over and over again. Do you have anything like that for upcycling or sewing or?
Yes, one of my absolutely favorite seamstress crafters to watch on YouTube is a channel called With Wendy. It's a lady who actually lives in Canada, and she is an amazing seamstress. She does all sorts of things. So whether it's upcycling or DIY or recreating like iconic clothing, she, you know, attempts it and, you know, shows, you know, the ones that do work and the ones that don't work. And she's had really good tips and tricks for me for just trying new things. Like definitely getting more into full-on clothing has been really helpful to watch her. This bag tutorial was actually through her channel that I learned about it. And once I saw that, I was like, oh, I have some of those materials at home. I want to try it for sure. Another one that I watch is called Kulerpa, I think is how you pronounce it. Her name is April, and she does a lot of upcycling of clothes that she thrifts. So she's a pretty tiny lady, and she'll go to the thrift store and thrift things, you know, like maybe a couple of sizes too big, or maybe it's something from the men's section, and but it's not really her style, or maybe it's a little out of date, and she'll bring it home and recreate it and, you know, make it into a whole new style. And she also makes stuff from scratch too. So she's made bathing suits and skirts and dresses and just all sorts of different things. She does really cool upcycling of clothing. Let me see. Another favorite one is the Sari Girls. They do a lot of like home decor DIY upcycling. A lot of stuff where it's they try to do like a no money makeover for things. So trying to make stuff for your house, the stuff you find around your house, and not have to spend a lot of money. Those are probably my top 3 YouTuber crafters that I follow.
Cool. Well, Anna says, this is amazing. Thank you. Definitely makes me look at my bags ready for Goodwill in a different way. And especially the items I love but don't fit anymore, etc. So yeah, I think, Hannah, you did a really great job of showing that, you know, these things that we end up donating, or maybe not even donating because we do love them so much and they're just sitting in our closet and they don't fit us anymore. You've shown us how to give them a new life. So thank you.
You're welcome. It's been really fun. I love a good craft night. So
yeah. So again, I want to thank everyone that tuned in tonight for DIY with InRoads. We'll be here next week on Wednesday at 6 p.m. with a new segment. And we have several more in this series. So if this is your first one or your fourth one, thank you for joining us. Again, you can find all the instructions and the videos loaded on inroadscu.org/DIY. And again, I think that's all for tonight. Yeah. Thanks again to Hannah Baldwin. And be sure to check out that landing page for Hannah's DIY instructions on how to make the hat, how to cut out the patches and give new life to a shirt. I think you also had sort of a surprise third one on there too, right?
I'll have to double check and see if it's still on there.
Okay.
I might add it on.
But you can go back and watch these videos. This video will be loaded up tomorrow. It will have some life here on Facebook as well. So again, from all of us at InRoads, please stay safe and healthy.
Good night, everybody.